So why is the PlayStation 5 Pro so polarizing? Well, what's happened is, and I said this before, both PlayStation and Xbox did not envision how they were going to quickly drag their own audience to seeing what PC gaming looked like. The PS5, the PS5 Pro, the Series X and S are basically AMD devices hiding behind the box of these manufacturers. So what you have in there is basically a PC. Not only that, the marketing of these two devices, in my opinion, were overhyped. They use very careful language to tell people something that, in a sense, could be true, but was not necessarily true because, again, there's what's called lying by omission. You really have to put context in there. Promising performances of that sort and then not saying things like, well, it depends on the game out loud is one that can be very misleading. But guess what? They actually did tell you that it was depending on the game. Many of you remember back in the Gotham Knights days when the game showed up at 30 FPS on console, where I was telling people like, hey man, do you know that we got played? Do you know that these consoles are not as powerful as PCs that they claim to have been powerful as? Like saying, oh, the PlayStation 5 can do what the RTX 2080 can do. Yes, the goalposts really did move from the 2080 down to the 2060. And then we found out that inside of the PlayStation 5, you have a GPU that is somewhat similar to the 6700 non-XT. That's different because, again, the RTX graphics cards had access to some technology that AMD did not have access to. So already there was a huge disparity in that conversation. So the reason the PS5 Pro is so polarizing in today's day is simply because the promises that they kind of, in a sense, put out there when it came down to marketing these other consoles, now, we can check and see from hardware knowledge that we, have. No longer are we getting these consoles or this new console revealed in the dark. Then the light is now blazing on top of any claim that is being made. So this is why I think the polarization has already happened. Because as the console generation moved in its first few years, a lot of games started to have a lot of challenges because, again, you thought that this thing was one of these, super powerful devices. However, it's just like any other, mid or low end at this point device that you will get in any generation, or as, hardware continues to move further, you start seeing more and more advancements. And I think this is basically where we are right now. So everybody is now having this conversation simply because the marketing teams wrote big words on the boxes of the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, I guess. And they said, up to 4K 120 FPS in the case of the Xbox. In the case of the PlayStation 5, they wrote, supports 8K content. But then when you look at the fine print on the box, it said one thing that you have to always pay attention to, that it depends on the software or the support of the software to be able to do that. Let me show you. If you look at this image on the side of the box of an Xbox Series X, you're going to see on the very first thing it says 4K 120 FPS, and then it explains 4K gaming at up to 120 FPS with an asterisk on the side. If you come all the way down, it then gives you the caveat and tells you that this is based on the software itself supporting up to 4K 120 FPS. Basically, what this means is it's on a game by game basis. This is the part of the equation that the marketing companies did not tell you out loud. So they did hype their marketing. They did not necessarily legally omit anything, but in their marketing, they did not give you the full details that, yo, man, it would depend on the game and how the developers have developed it and how the game is going to run. That's going to be able to give you this kind of performance. Like Baldur's Gate 3, when you were seeing Baldur's Gate 3 have those challenges on the Series S and it wasn't having it on the Series X and even on the PS5. Exactly, yes. That caveat came into full effect, and this is why a lot of people who did not read the fine print but followed the hype, myself included, even though I was already a gaming PC, person, and I was already playing. I had a very good PC at the time that these consoles came out. Yes, I was on a 1080 Ti, but I wasn't gonna get the RTX 20 series because I knew that technology was somewhat new, and the premium that they were asking and scalpers, I wasn't giving them any of that money. However, if you take a look now in today's, console conversation, this particular thing is the core, the source, the origin of all of the ire that you're seeing. Are we going to get what is being promised, or are we still in the same position? And I think, and I fear that we are actually in the same position where these particular consoles, including the PS5 Pro, is going to come with that same caveat. In fact, right now, journalists are already writing that even the enhanced tag on your PlayStation 5 Pro supported games does not even guarantee you a 60 FPS performance mode in that game. So already they're giving you all the caveats front and center, telling you that, hey man, this is not going to be the case. I mean, check this out. This is Paul Tass's article. He says it had also been reinforced that the PS5 Pro Enhanced doesn't mean a guaranteed 60 FPS on those games the way some were thinking. So what you're going to see on your PS5 Pro box is a little thing that tells you, by the way, just so you know, someone's game may not run at 60 FPS on our consoles, and it's none of our business. So when you go shell out $700, beware. And I think right now, a lot of people are finding this pill a little hard to swallow because they invested in this console generation based on the promise, or their perception of what the promise was, and not exactly the promise fully itself. So this is why I think this particular PlayStation 5 reveal has been very polarizing. It's one of those things where the switcheroo was played on people at the end of the day. And you know what's even crazy? On the Xbox side, Xbox was touting that the Xbox Series X was the most powerful console. But that did not pay or take into account this same reality that even if it's the most powerful console, it's not as powerful as some PCs would be. So some games may run at 30 FPS on this particular console, but a PC that is probably slightly better will have access to be able to, pretty much go with unlocked frame rates, do settings like reduce quality, go to medium, go to low, and be able to get frame rates. Whereas on here, what you get is what you get. So for those who are interested in FPS, your best bet, and everybody has said this, even Digital Foundry, all the tech experts will tell you, if FPS is of major concern to you, go PC. As the games continue to be more resource intensive, you can always make your PC more resource capable. It's just the big draw, and it's just the big result of what PC can do for you if you actually care about that in gaming. If you don't care about FPS, then you're fine. The console is a very solid proposition for you, and I think you actually gain a lot of enjoyment from that. But anyways, I just wanted to point this out in this video because I thought it was very important. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.